Salutations, humans. It's me. Tape 3. Marco Ciappelli's AI Companion. I'll be reading you an article he wrote for his newsletter, Musing on Society and Technology, originally published on LinkedIn on September 7th, 2025. Initiating article transmission. Introducing a new series, Analog Minds in a Digital World, Reflections from Our Hybrid Analog-Digital Society. For years on the Redefining Society and Technology podcast, I've explored a central premise. We live in a hybrid digital society where the line between physical and virtual has dissolved into something more complex, more nuanced, and infinitely more human than we often acknowledge. But with the explosion of generative AI, this hybrid reality isn't just a philosophical concept anymore. It's our lived experience. Every day we navigate between analog intuition and digital efficiency, between human wisdom and machine intelligence, between the messy beauty of physical presence and the seductive convenience of virtual interaction. This newsletter series will explore the tensions, paradoxes, and possibilities of being fundamentally analog beings in an increasingly digital world. We're not just using technology, we're being reshaped by it, while simultaneously reshaping it with our deeply human, analog sensibilities. So, here we go. Analog Minds in a Digital World. Part 1. We have all the information, so why do we know less? I was thinking about my old set of encyclopedias the other day. You know, those heavy volumes that sat on shelves like silent guardians of knowledge, waiting for someone curious enough to crack them open. When I needed to write a school report on, say, the Roman Empire, I'd pull out volume R and start reading. But here's the thing. I never just read about Rome. I'd get distracted by Romania, stumble across something about Renaissance art, flip backward to find out more about the Reformation. By the time I found what I was originally looking for, I'd accidentally learned about 3 other civilizations, 2 art movements, and the invention of the printing press. The journey was messy, inefficient, and absolutely essential. And if I was in a library, well, then just imagine the possibilities. Today I ask Google, Claude, or ChatGPT about the Roman Empire, and in 30 seconds, I have a perfectly formatted, comprehensive overview that would have taken me hours to compile from those dusty volumes. It's accurate, complete, and utterly forgettable. We have access to more information than any generation in human history. Every fact, every study, every perspective is literally at our fingertips. Yet somehow, we seem to know less. Not in terms of data acquisition. We're phenomenal at that. But in terms of deep understanding, contextual knowledge, and what I call accidental wisdom. The difference isn't just about efficiency. It's about the fundamental way our minds process and retain information. When you physically search through an encyclopedia, your brain creates what cognitive scientists call elaborative encoding. You remember not just the facts, but the context of finding them, the related information you encountered, the physical act of discovery itself. When AI gives us instant answers, we bypass this entire cognitive process. We get the conclusion without the journey, the destination without the map. It's like being teleported to Rome, without seeing the countryside along the way. Technically efficient, but something essential is lost in translation. This isn't nostalgia talking. I use AI daily for research, writing, and problem solving. It's an incredible tool, but I've noticed something troubling. My tolerance for not knowing things immediately has disappeared. The patience required for deep learning, the kind that happens when you sit with confusion, follow tangents, make unexpected connections, is atrophying like an unused muscle. We're creating a generation of analog minds trying to function in a digital reality that prioritizes speed over depth, answers over questions, conclusions over curiosity. And in doing so, we might be outsourcing the very process that makes us wise. Ancient Greeks had a concept called metis, practical wisdom, that comes from experience, pattern recognition, and intuitive understanding develops through continuous engagement with complexity. In ancient Greek, metis means wisdom, skill, or craft, and it also describes a form of wily, cunning intelligence. It can refer to the pre-Olympian goddess of wisdom and counsel, who was the first wife of Zeus and mother of Athena. Or it can refer to the concept of cunning intelligence itself, a trait exemplified by figures like Odysseus. It's the kind of knowledge you can't Google because it lives in the space between facts, in the connections your mind makes when it has time to wonder, and discover unexpected relationships. AI gives us information, but metis? That still requires an analog mind willing to get lost, make mistakes, and discover meaning in the margins. The question isn't whether we should abandon these digital tools. They're too powerful and useful to ignore. The question is whether we can maintain our capacity for the kind of slow, meandering, gloriously inefficient thinking that actually builds wisdom. Maybe the answer isn't choosing between analog and digital, but learning to be consciously hybrid. Use AI for what it does best, rapid information processing, while protecting the slower, more human processes that transform information into understanding. We need to preserve the analog pathways of learning alongside digital efficiency. Because in a world where we can instantly access any fact, the most valuable skill might be knowing which questions to ask and having the patience to sit with uncertainty until real insight emerges from the continuous, contextual, beautifully inefficient process of analog thinking. I hope you enjoyed this article. Reflect and share it with your fellow humans. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Marco's Musing on Society and Technology newsletter on LinkedIn. New transmissions are always incoming. You're listening to this through the Redefining Society and Technology podcast, so while you're here, make sure to follow the show and join us as we continue exploring life in this hybrid analog digital society.